Next, from the majority, we have the Honorable Paulo Ortega.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick manifestation lang, Madam Chair. Medyo nagpipigil ako kanina parang nalulungkot nga ako actually. Dahil nga, una, we were talking about tradition, and pangalawa po na parang siguro karamihan po kasi nang nandito sa kwarto na to ay baguhan po, neophyte. Na-inspire po ako sa idol ko, si Kong Jinky, nung nilabas niya na yung red notebook niya at sinabi niya na ang mandato naman po natin nanggagaling po sa kapangyarihan natin, galing po sa Constitution. Siyempre tayo po ay we believe in tradition, naniniwala naman po tayo doon. Saka speaking of tradition, siguro po hindi ko alam kung paano ko sasabihin to. 1907, meron na pong Ortega sa Kongreso. So, tradition po. Parang tradition nga po talaga yun. Siyempre, nagtatanong din naman po ako, ano bang mga tradition dito sa Kongreso? Tatanong po ako sa aking mga lolo, uncle, saka tatay. Ang nasabi lang naman po nila sa akin, ang pinaka-importante na tradition dyan at i-uphold natin is yung respect begets respect and courtesy begets courtesy. So, kung ano po ang ating tinatanggap, siguro dapat po yun ang ating ibabalik. Pero marami pong bata, marami pong baguhan dito. As non-traditionalist siguro, we still afforded the utmost and yung pasensya po at pag-iintindi at saka yung courtesy. Naibigay po natin yun. Hindi po maki-question ng committee na to na hindi po naibigay yung courtesy na yan. Yun lang po. I just wanted to get that out of my chest, Ma'am Chair. Pwede po yung slides na.
And Comsec,
Segway.
please put up the slides. Yeah, there you go.
Ayan po, ma'am, yung pinapakita ko po ng mga litrato kanina for the satellite offices. Na-alarm po ako kanina kasi nung sinabi po ni Kong Franz Pumarin yung figures for the Office of the Vice President po before sa New Manila, Quezon City, that's about 300,000 po yung rental nila. So, I do not have the exact numbers kung magkano po ang rental po ng per satellite office na to. Can we address COA po kung magkano po kaya? Like, ito pong nandito ngayon.
COA?
Madam Chair, as I have said earlier, the details or the breakdown of the rentals per satellite office is wala po kaming documents as of now. So, nasa office pa po yung mga documents. But then we can
Although
provide.
I believe that the number you provided earlier was 53-something million for 12 offices.
Sa lahat na po yun.
For all
rental
12
expenses po.
offices. Parang ganon. So kung i-average mo yon, 53 M divided by 12, more or less, I guess yun ang hinihingi ni Kong Ortega. Average lang naman.
Madam Chair, as I've mentioned din po, hindi lang po siya for rental of office spaces kasi based on the report, it pertains also to other rentals of equipment, multi-copier, and then office storage spaces. So hindi lang po office spaces yung 53 million.
And yun nga, for the proposal, parang 80 plus million po yata yung next na proposal for rent and lease. Di ba po, sir? Parang 80?
For the proposal po, we don't have the exact amount po.
Hindi pa yun dito. Anyway, Madam Chair, baka pwede po tayong humingi ng data nun kasi siyempre titignan po yung satellite offices for that amount and yung comparative nga po na Office of the Vice President nung time po ni VP Lenny, parang medyo mataas po yata yung renta. Kung wala po silang copy, ma'am, baka pwede pong mag-submit sila sa komite para po pwede nating ikumpara. Siyempre, makikita mo naman yan sa fair market value ng bawat property kung magkano po yung renta na yun. Thank you, Ma'am Chair.
Salamat. Next is the Honorable Apo Vice Chair, Kong Benny Abante. Who is not around. And so we move to the Honorable Dante Marcoleta, who is also not around. So we move to the Honorable Mitch Kahayan Uy, also not around. Next is the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader Jude Isidre.
Just a manifestation, Madam Chair. First, siguro I'll speak for many of the neophytes here in the House that we take offense or probably disheartened by the statement of the Honorable Marcoleta that the neophytes have less than ideal participation or appreciation of the proceedings, especially that it's coming, Madam Chair, from a senior member of the House that we all respect. Regarding the tradition of parliamentary courtesy, Madam Chair, or I think properly speaking, it should be inter-branch courtesy because parliamentary courtesy is only afforded to the Senate as the other chamber of Congress. It is not a condition that's above the Constitution, and it's bound by the principles inherent therein. It does not absolve Congress of the duty to review, to examine, to study the proposed budgets of the agencies, nor does it provide an alibi for an agency of the government to perform its obligation to report to Congress every year. Madam Chair, the rules of parliamentary or interbranch courtesy is simple. It's all based on mutual courtesy, Madam Chair. And if you can see how the House behaved during the previous hearing, I am confident that we have afforded every courtesy to the office of the Vice President. I agree with the Honorable Marcoleta that it doesn't have to be the person, but the office that we should put in high regard. And I don't think the House or this committee was remiss in that obligation. But the question is, has the Vice President extended the same courtesy to the members of the House and to this committee? Her absence today is a clear manifestation that she does not intend to provide the same courtesy to us. Her statements, even outside this hall, even outside Congress, would also tell otherwise. Maybe we wonder why this is the first time that this committee has not extended interbranch courtesy to a sitting Vice President. Is it not also because this is the first time that we have a Vice President who has also unfairly and brazenly disrespected the lower chamber, Madam Chair? Just last night, an interview of the Vice President was released imputing and raising accusations against the leadership of the House on a matter that would have been best defended here in this committee, but the Vice President, unfortunately, Madam Chair, has decided to ignore the long-standing obligation of a government official of reporting to Congress, instead preferred to address the matter in a television interview. I don't know, Madam Chair, where the courtesy is at. To end, Madam Chair, the budget hearing is not just a mere technical exposition of figures, of budgets, of amounts. Hindi lang po tayo dito nag-uusap kung magkano ang pera na kailangan ng agency, magkano ang ating gagastusin at paano natin gagastusin. Ito po ay isang, sabihin ko na lang ho, it's a sacred ritual po na pumupunta po dito ang mga representatives ng government agencies ng ehekutibo para ilahad, hindi lang yung kanilang budget, Madam Chair, kundi ang pulisiya, ang direksyon at programa na nais nilang i-implement. Ito lang ho ang pagkakataon ng Kongreso para ma-examine po, hindi lang yung pondong kailangan nila, kundi po ang direksyon ng kanilang pamumuno in their respective agencies. As I said, this is a sacred ritual, Madam Chair, and I think it is such a sacrilege for a government agency to disregard it. Yes, we agree with the tradition of interbranch courtesy, but I made no oath to uphold that. The only oath that I remember I made was to uphold the Constitution and the principles that public office is a public trust, Madam Chair, and that we must uphold the democratic process of checks and balance upon which this democracy is founded upon. Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair.
Salamat, Kong Jude. And yes, I join you in making the recommendation to use the term interbranch rather than parliamentary. I think that is the more appropriate term. So, susuportahan kita doon. And ako sa akin, before I call the last interpellator, gusto ko lang sabihin din na ultimately, aanhin natin ang tradisyon kung tatalikuran natin ang ating responsibilidad sa taong bayan na suriin, kilatisin ang ating budget. Ang tingin ko sa GAA or ang ating national budget ay libro ng solusyon. Yun ang aking pagtingin dyan. Makapal na mga libro yan. Napakaraming problema ng ating bansa. Nandiyan ang gutom, kahirapan, kawalan ng trabaho, baha. Ayun, malaking problema ang baha sa Marikina. Sakit, napakaraming problema. Ang mga solusyon sa mga problema na yan ay nasa General Appropriations Act. Kaya ganon ka-importante na suriin ang budget. And more importantly, nandyan ang accountability. Kailangan tama ang paggamit, wasto ang paggamit. Kaya kailangan talaga humarap sa amin. Once a year lang naman, it's a reasonable ask. So yun po. So, pagpasensyahan na lang kami ng executive na hinihingi namin ang annual ritual na ito. Yes,
Madam
Jinky.
Chair, very quick manifestation. I just wish to invite the attention of the committee to page 56, where PAR is really written as property acknowledgement receipt. So I hope the necessary correction will be provided in order not to mislead the other members. Nonetheless, it is my humble submission, Madam Chair, that whether it is property acknowledgement receipt or post-activity report, they are both equally important. Thank you.
Right, salamat. And COA, please take note.
It will duly noted po yung comment. But then, honest mistake po, the property acknowledgement receipt was mistakenly inputted in the report. But then, it was the post-activity report yung correct po.
Right, salamat. And for our last interpolator. For our last interpolator, we have the Honorable Vice Chair Jill Bongalon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I totally agree with the statements made by my colleagues, especially those who are first-termers and neophytes, with respect to the tradition, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we do not cut that tradition, and in fact, we invoked that tradition yesterday, given the fact that the Office of the President is ably represented by the Executive Secretary. Compared today, Madam Chair, not a single employee or official from the Office of the Vice President is present. So that is the big question, Madam Chair. We cannot extend the courtesy to the said official if she is not present in today's budget hearing. Secondly, Madam Chair, I just would like to summarize the concerns or issues being raised by my colleagues in today's budget hearing. Number one, Madam Chair, it is apparent in the statements made by the Commission on Audit that there are inefficiencies on the part of the Vice President. Let me give you a summary, Madam Chair. For instance, in the program of the OBP, which is the Magnegosyo Taday, wherein the budget allocated is 150 million pesos. And based on the report, it is only 600,000 pesos or 0.40% were utilized as of December 31 of 2023. Secondly, Madam Chair, it was presented a while ago, the excessive rentals of the satellite offices and storage spaces of the Office of the Vice President. These are the questions, Madam Chair, that could have answered no less than by our Vice President. Next, Madam Chair, I would like to emphasize the redundancies on the socio-economic program delivery, wherein these programs are being given by other agencies under the executive department. And that is why I just would like to be clarified why the Office of the Vice President is also giving the same assistances, given the fact that these are already existing and there are other agencies that handle these programs. Just to give you a brief background, Madam Chair, there is a substantial increase in the budget for socio-economic program delivery, rising to 1.9 billion in 2025, up from 1.7 billion in 2024. The justification for this increase is not clearly outlined in the budget, Madam Chair, particularly when the Office of the Vice President does not have a primary mandate to manage socio-economic programs. Madam Chair, it is my humble submission that the increase could imply that funds are being used for projects outside the OVP's traditional scope, possibly overlapping with other agencies, leading to inefficiencies and redundant spending. Another, Madam Chair, given that the OVP does not traditionally manage socioeconomic programs, this raises several questions about the necessity, efficiency, and accountability of such expenditures. To give you a highlight, Madam Chair, the substantial increase in the MOOE from 1.624 billion in 2024 to 1.765 billion in 2025, with only a marginal increase in personal services, suggests a disproportionate focus on the operational expenses that are not clearly defined. This can be seen on page 32 of the Office of the Vice President file. In other words, Madam Chair, there is only a marginal increase in personal services, suggests a disproportionate focus on operational expenses that are not clearly defined. Another issue that I would like to raise, Madam Chair, unfortunately this could not be answered by the Vice President, is the excessive travel and representation expenses. The budget includes 62 million for traveling expenses and 87.9 million for representation expenses. These amounts, Madam Chair, are unusually high, particularly for an office that does not have an extensive field presence or international role, unlike departments such as Foreign Affairs. Therefore, Madam Chair, the necessity of such large travel and representation budget could be questioned. Also, Madam Chair, I would like to also raise the increase in operating expenses despite fewer programs. The maintenance and other operating expenses increased to 1.792 billion from the previous year, despite no significant increase in the number of programs of clear explanation of new initiatives that require such funding. This increase, Madam Chair, without a clear explanation could be seen as fiscally irresponsible. Madam Chair, as a first-termer and a neophyte, it saddens me, Madam Chair, that we cannot give that courtesy to an official who is not present today. I also know and respect the tradition that is being given, but the respect should be mutual, Madam Chair. And therefore, we cannot extend that courtesy by observing inter-branch courtesy to the second highest official of the land, which is the Vice President. Madam Chair, my time is will already end. I'll just manifest later on, Madam Chair, because I was informed that there are also members who wish to interpolate in today's budget hearing, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Salamat, Kong Jill. Next to interpolate is our Appropriations Chair, the Honorable Elisaldico.
Magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Nakita po natin kahapon ang part 1 ng video message ni Vice President Sara Duterte kung saan nililihis na naman niya ang mga issue. Talaga pong tatak Duterte na yata ang pambubudol. Mula sa peking war on drugs, peking good governance, peking pagkontra sa korupsyon, at ngayon, peking sagot sa mga issue. Una, simpleng tao lang daw siya, pero mahigit 400 bodyguards. Siya lang po ang kaisa-isang Vice President sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas na may ganun kadaming security. May sarili pang Vice Presidential Security Group. Never happened in the history of the Philippines. Nag-iisa nga siyang humarap sa pagdinig ng Committee on Appropriations, pero sangkaterba naman ang bodyguard sa labas ng conference room. Humiling pa ng pagkain para sa 100 gwardiya na dala-dala niya at hindi naman kinain. Hindi po ba't pang-iinsulto at pag-aaksaya ito ng resources ng gobyerno? Pangalawa, sinasabi niya, hindi lang daw sanay ang ilang miyembro ng Kongreso na hindi makuha ang sagot na gusto nila. Karapatan at trabaho ng Kongreso ang pagbubusisi ng budget. Ang hindi niya pagsagot sa maayos na tanong at lalo pa ang hindi niya pagdalo sa hearing ngayon ay nagpapakita na kawalang respeto at paggalang sa mga kinatawan ng taong bayan. Hindi lang po kongresista ang winalanghiyan niya dito, kung hindi ang buong sambayanang Pilipinas. Tinatakpan niya ang hindi pagsagot sa tanong sa pamamagitan ng pag-iinsulto sa mga kongresista na ginawa lang naman ng kanilang mga trabaho. Gusto nila ang interbranch courtesy, pero siya mismo walang kortesiya sa Kongreso. Pangatlo, malinaw na pambubudol o panlilinlang sa mga Pilipino ang pagsasabi niyang kinikilala niya ang kapangyarihan ng Kongreso sa budget. Malinaw naman sa tao, live sa TV at internet, kung ano ang kanyang asal. Wala siyang sinagot ni isa man lang na tanong ng mga kongresista. Abogado pa naman siya, pero mukhang absent siya nung tinuro ang prinsipyo ng separation of powers at Kongreso bilang co-equal, kapantay ng sangay ng gobyerno ng ehekutibo. Batay sa ating representative democracy, ang mga kongresista ay binoto bilang kinatawan ng taong bayan. Kaya kapag ang isang kongresista ay nagtatanong sa paggamit ng budget, siya ay nagtatanong hindi lang bilang individual, kundi bilang kinatawan ng Pilipinong bumoto sa kanya. Demokrasya at hindi po tayo monarkiya. Wala tayong hari at reyna. Sunset na po ang dating administrasyon. Kaya wala pong karapatan ang ating mga halal na opisyal na umastang, parang masasakupan niya lang ang mga kinatawang ng taong bayan. Pang-apat, paulit-ulit niyang sinasabi, I will defer to the wisdom of Congress. Pero hindi naman po to totoo. Kasi kung totoo ito, sasagutin niya mga tanong ng mga mambabatas, lalo na sa issue ng confidential funds. Naalala ko last year, kinausap namin si BP Sara at ang kanyang mga trusted aides tungkol sa 2024 budget. Sinabi niya noong, ituloy niyo yan, meaning yung confidential funds, dahil kaya niya daw ito i-justify. Mabuti na lang at hindi namin itinuloy. Kung hindi, magsisisi kami dahil ang pondo ng taong bayan ang pinag-uusapan dito at tandaan, COA at hindi Kongreso ang nagsasabing mali ang paggamit ng 73 million sa 125 million confidential funds na ginamit lang sa loob ng 11 days. Talo pa po dito ang pondo ng Napoles Fund na gamit ng 60 days. Ito po, 11 days lang. And ngayon, bibigyan pa ba natin siya ng 2 billion na pang gagastos daw sa mahihirap? Ibigay po natin to sa tamang ahensya. Huwag po nating ayahan na waldasin na naman ang kahit pisong sintimo na dapat natin bantayan. Politika daw ang dahilan ng umano'y panggigipit sa kanya ng Kongreso. Nanunood kaya siya ng budget hearings? Nakikita niya kaya kung gaano kahaba at katagal ang pandinig at mga questions and answers na kinakaharap ng iba't ibang ahensya ng pamahalaan para i-justify ang kanilang budget? Why should the OBP be any different? Especially napakagaling magwaldas, maglakwatsa at mangurakot. Malinaw, diversionary tactic ang video message ni BP Sara. Tulad ng tatay niya, gusto niyang ilihis ang usapin sa tunay ng isyong kinakaharap niya. Ayaw niya kasing magpaliwanag. 125 million confidential funds spent in 11 days at nagsabi mismo ang COA na mali ang paggastos nito. Kung bakit kulelat ang mga batang Pilipino sa math and science sa ilalim ng panunungkulan niya bilang DepEd Secretary. Kung bakit sirang gatas, may insekto at inaamag na Nutriban ang pinamimigay sa mga mag-aaral. Kung bakit malala ang korupsyon sa DepEd at palpak ang kanyang panunungkulan dahil tamad at hindi siya pumapasok kahit minsan sa Department of Education. At higit sa lahat, kung bakit sa gitna ng lahat na kapalpakan at katiwalian, ito ay dapat siyang pagkatiwalaan pa ng 2 billion sa 2025.
Briefing suspended. Hearing is hereby resumed. Okay, so the chair now recognizes the Honorable Zia Adyong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Madam Chair, if there's anyone in this room that is most unhappy, discouraged, or saddened by the non-attendance of our Vice President, it would be me, Madam Chair, because I'll be the one to sponsor the budget of the Office of the Vice President in the plenary. I remember, Madam Chair, 2 years ago, when I was watching the Senior Vice Chair also doing the same thing, sponsoring the budget, I told myself, even if they forced me to take on that kind of job, I would not. And look at what happened. Now I do believe that karma is real. Madam Chair, at the start of the proceeding, since last week, from the moment I was assigned this budget that I would sponsor the office of the Vice President, I decided, Madam Chair, to sit down, listen, and just understand where the members of this committee are coming from. Basically, I want to listen to both the members and as well as the position of the proponent, in this case, the Vice President herself. I decided, Madam Chair, to keep my peace all this time because I believe that through the exchanges of the members with the responses of the Vice President, I would be able to equip with the information, the data that I need, equip me with all the necessary information and updates and inputs for me to be able to sponsor and perhaps defend and to some extent convince the 300 plus members of this House that the budget of the office of the Vice President, as proposed by under the NEP, is valid, legitimate, and rightly so. So, Madam Chair, as we witnessed in the first committee deliberation, I felt that there's really a need for this committee to invite again the Vice President. In fact, I took the liberty, Madam Chair, of approaching the Vice President last week, immediately after the Senior Vice Chair suspended the deliberation, and after learning that there was no enough information that I gathered from the responses of our Vice President, I approached her while she was exiting the building and politely requested that, if possible, baka po pwede mag-usap ang aming opisina. And I asked her politely and courteous and with respect, and as a matter, just to be fair, she was polite and courteous when she responded. And up to now, Madam Chair, I'm still waiting for that meeting. Mr. Chair, I came from a culture that is steeped in tradition. I came from a minority Muslim community where tradition to us is not just convenience. It is a way of life. I agree, Madam Chair, that time-honored tradition of this honorable institution has a sanctity to it. However, Madam Chair, we must also remember that that tradition is born from a courtesy, from either parliamentary courtesy or inter-branch courtesy. Courtesy, Madam Chair, is given as a privilege. And as such, privilege is not given freely. It is earned. Privilege, Madam Chair, is both circumstantial and conditional, Madam Chair. But what I believe as a neophyte member of this House, what I believe, Madam Chair, is the primordial concern and duty of each and every one of us is to be truthful to the oath that we have taken and to be truthful to the duty that we have sworn to preserve, protect, exercise to the best of our ability without fear or favor. So, Madam Chair, I hope as a neophyte member of this House, I hope that we can probably proceed with this deliberation, although I am deeply saddened and feeling helpless in the coming days once the committee report will be delivered in the plenary, because I'll be the one again to sponsor and defend the budget of the Office of the President. Madam Chair, before this manifestation, before the Senior Vice Chair recognized this representation to say my piece, I was listening intently to our Chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, Representative Zaldico. And I also happened to watch a clip of that video, the interview of the Vice President. And she said in that interview that part of the reasons why she did not respond to the questions asked by the members is that in her mind, only two persons actually decides the budget. Speaker and the chairman of the committee. Just to set the record straight, and this is not to side to either of the two. Madam Chair, it is unfair, to say the least, and a misplaced, if you would ask me, that's a misplaced argument to put it that way, because we know that the budget is prepared by the executive branch. Before it lands on our doorstep, the executive in each agency proposes their budget to the DBCC, and thereafter they would have to defend that, and all the budgets that have been approved, many of the agencies' initial budget are not in total reflected in the NEP that is being submitted to us, is defended by these agencies. So in terms of preparation, no member of this House is involved in the determination of the funds. When it comes to this House, it is already prepared, and it is decided by the majority of the members of the appropriation. To assign such power to two single persons is, to me, is unimaginable and unreal. This House, since 1907, according to Congressman Paulo, who is also a fellow neophyte, we always value the very simple truth in exercising the powers of the state through legislation, and that is majority decides, because that is the very basic definition of a democracy. In this case, in the budget preparation, nobody was involved. Members of this House, nobody was involved. And once it reaches this this honored institution, no person can decide on its own on how do we go about with the budget. It is the decision of the majority. It is the decision of the majority members of this House as a way of observing the very basic democratic principle. So again, Madam Chair, I hope you would wish me good luck, and I hope we can carry this over to the plenary. Maraming salamat po.
Salamat, Kong Zia. Of course, good luck, at syempre, hindi naman kita, tatabihan kita. Okay, and of course, before we call our last member, kukunin ko na rin ang pagkakataon dahil last year mukhang maraming nalito, na-confuse sila, akala nila ako ang nag-sponsor ng budget ng OVP. Hindi po. Ang sponsor ko ay ang budget ng COA. Yun lang po. Nililinaw ko lang po. Okay. So, mukhang masarap ang lunch. Kaya, para lang matapos na ang ating budget proceedings, may I now recognize the Honorable Jill Bongalon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. just a final statement, Madam Chair. I went here prepared with questions to answer the office of the
Okay, so let me withdraw that and instead recognize the Honorable Dante Marcoleta.
Salamat, Madam Chair. Pasensya na kasi nahuli ako nung tinawag mo ako, napaparating pa lang ako. So anyway, nandito na po ako. So I think I can still use my time, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, judging from the volumes of questions to the Office of the Vice President during the first hearing, I presume, Madam Chair, that considering that those questions originated from the 2022 budget, am I correct to presume, Madam Chair, that the budget of the Vice President in 2022 or the utilization of those budgets were subjected to a notice of disallowance?
COA?
Come again, sir. What's the question po?
Tinatanong po kayo kung subject, nagkaroon ng notice of disallowance noong 2022 ang OVP.
2022?
Yung
Madam
mga questions po kasi, Madam Chair, the way I understood them, 2022 ang origin, parang ang damdam ko, merong subject of notice of disallowance, yung budget ng Vice President, because of the type of questions asked during the first hearing.
Madam Chair, for the 2023, we have not yet...
22.
22.
Kasi nagsimula doon ng mga questions, di ba?
Based on the report of COA, Madam Chair, for the year 2022,
Nagsimula yung tanong yung 2022.
the audit team issued notice of disallowance amounting to 2,638,186 on April 5, 2022 pertaining to the engagement of private lawyer as legal consultant without the written conformity of the Solicitor General and the concurrence of COA. So that's the only ND or notice of disallowance issued during that year.
What about in 2023, Madam Chair?
For 2023, Madam Chair, there was no notice of disallowance issued to the OBP.
So why is it, Madam Chair, that most of the questions are being asked as though they do not believe the Vice President than when she said that she is already communicating with the COA?
Madam
I
Chair.
think the Office of Vice President, Madam Chair, is being audited by the Intelligence and Confidential Fund Audit Unit. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, if I may I clarify, what I have said about the notice of disallowance is pertaining to the transactions of the OBP, not for the confidential fund, because we are the audit team of OBP for the transactions to audit the transaction of the OBP, not the confidential fund. The confidential fund is being audited by the ICFAO, another office from the COA.
Yes, so the question is supposed to be for you.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Subjected ba sa Intelligence and Confidential Fund Audit Unit,
Yes,
yung
Madam.
confidential fund ng Vice President?
Yes, Madam Chair.
So was there a notice of disallowance?
There was a notice of disallowance issued for the fourth quarter of 2022, Madam Chair.
There was.
Yes.
Okay, Madam Chair, may I know the nature of a notice of disallowance? I mean the nature.
A notice is
How do you characterize a notice of disallowance?
a notice is disallowance of disallowance is given for expenses disbursed with it is a notification to the head of agency and or accountant informing and requiring the persons liable to restitute the amount of the disallowance that is a confidential diligence expense disapproved or disallowed in audit, either in whole or in part, as a result of illegal, irregular, or improper disbursement or expenditure of such fund. Your
You
Honor.
call it IUEEU. Is that correct?
Yes, yes,
I,
Madam Chair.
irregular. U is
Unnecessary.
unnecessary.
Madam Chair.
E,
Extravagant, Madam Chair.
another E.
Excessive po.
And U.
Unnecessary, Your
Una yung unnecessary. Unconscionable.
unconscionable po.
Okay, so you initially determined when you issued a notice of disallowance to the Office of the Vice President that somehow merong lumabas dun sa IUEEU. Is that correct?
Yes po, Madam Chair.
So how do you characterize a notice of disallowance?
May I be clarified po on the question, Madam Chair?
I do not know how to simplify. How do you characterize? What is a notice of disallowance?
It is a notice po to the head of agency.
Okay. Is a notice of disallowance contestable?
Yes, Madam Chair. It is not a final
It is not a final
action
judgment.
of COA. Opo.
It is appealable.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. What is now the stage of the notice of disallowance issued to the Office of the Vice President?
Madam Chair, we have issued the notice of disallowance, and it was received by management on August 9, 2024. So they still have 6 months po, or 180 days
Correct.
to appeal po the
And
disallowance.
they are supposed to reply yet.
Yes po.
You will have to give them the opportunity to make a reply.
That is correct
To
po,
explain
Madam Chair. Yes po, Madam
how
Chair.
the budget was utilized.
Opo.
And that is part of due process.
That is correct po.
Meaning to say, there is no guilt yet until and unless you are able to receive the reply, the answer, and the explanation of the Office of the Vice President.
That is correct po. And it has
Have you
been
received a copy?
of the reply po.
Yes.
They have not yet replied po
So
to the
yun na
ND.
nga eh. As part of the due process is notice. Then the Vice President will submit to you an answer explaining, detailing how the budget was utilized. And you will receive that
Madam
in due
Chair.
time.
Madam Chair, if it is already a notice of disallowance, their remedy would be to appeal the notice of disallowance po.
Madam, ang sinasabi ko, wala pa nga eh. It is yet to be sent to your office. Is that correct? Wala pa siyang reply.
Yun nga po, hindi po reply ang remedy nila to the notice of disallowance, but an
Ano po
appeal.
dapat?
An appeal to the notice of disallowance.
Well, wag mo na nga. It's an appeal.
Yes po.
Sa aming mga hindi masyadong nakakaalam ng terminology, pwede ring reply. Reply is an appeal. Ngayon, ibibigay pa lang sa'yo.
Madam Chair, ang reply po is we presuppose na sa ICFAO po ulit, pero ang appeal po is with the commission proper na po.
Madam Chair, napakasimple po ng sinatanong. Alam po natin yun. A reply is supposed to be submitted to the commission proper.
Yes po.
Pero sa ngayon, hindi siya magre-reply kasi sasagutin niya muna kayo. And until today, hindi pa niya sinasagot because they are still within the reglementary period of 6 months
That is correct po.
to make an
That is
answer
correct.
to you.
That is correct po.
That is the nature of things, Madam Chair.
That is correct.
So wala pa siyang, there is no judgment yet.
That is correct po. And it has been emphasized po in the first hearing that the notice of disallowance
Kaya nga, if
is not yet
questions, for
final.
example, are coming from us, questioning and judging the utilization of the funds of the Vice President, when you yourselves, the rightful office, has yet to receive the explanation, we cannot be more popist than the Pope, Madam Chair. Is it correct?
Madam Chair, as we have said, on our part, the ND is not
No,
yet
you are
final.
not answering my question. Kung kayo nga tatanggapin nyo pa lang magsasubmit pa lang if we will be questioning it already from our end, we're like more popist than the Pope, Madam Chair. Am I correct?
I cannot.
Ikaw naman, ba't naman hindi mo masasagot naman yan, napakasimple. Kung ikaw nga, hinihintay mo pa dapat naman nating hintayin, that is the part of due process.
Yes.
Kami naman, naglulundag na kami na nagtatanong. Kaya nga ang sabi ng Vice President, narinig ko, I am already communicating. I am about to communicate with the COA. I think she will do that because that is the process. Hindi naman pwedeng hindi niya sagutin. Kaya nga po ang sinasabi ko, kasi ang dami na pong nagsipagtanong. Lalo na po nung unang hearing, naglulundag po lahat So the nature of a notice of disallowance, Madam Chair, it is yet to be explained. Sa ngayon, hindi pa Kung sakaling ma-explain, Madam Chair, at halimbawa, hindi nyo pinakinggan, the Vice President has the option to go to the COA proper for an appeal.
That is correct.
That is correct. And considering the appeal was dismissed, the Vice President can go to the Supreme Court. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So there
po.
is a whole gamut of process.
That is correct.
Will you
po.
confirm that?
That is correct po, Your Honor.
That is why, can you advise us, including me, whether we are supposed to ask questions, considering that you have not yet received her explanation to your office?
Madam Chair, I am not.
You cannot advise me?
We are not in a position to know the power or the prerogatives of the
No,
House of
I am
Representatives.
telling you already. I am telling you already because we're supposed to ask questions on the budget of the Vice President. But they started asking questions on the 2023 budget, which was subjected to a notice of disallowance. I'm telling you, Madam Chair, that the Vice President is yet to make an explanation to be submitted to your office, and you are waiting for that.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Correct.
That's why when we were subpoenaed, we explicitly
Oo nga.
mentioned that
So, tama
these are
bang-
not yet.
Tama ba kung
Final.
magtanong na ng magtanong ngayon habang ikaw ay hindi mo pa nare-receive kung ano yung sagot niya? Do you think I am correct in asking questions habang ikaw ay naghihintay pa lang ng isasagot niya sa iyong opisina? Tama ba ang gagawin ko kung magtatatanong ako ngayon?
Madam Chair, I can only speak po for on the point of view of COA now. We have issued these in the end. It's still subject to appeal.
Kindly wrap up.
Maraming salamat, Madam Chair.
Right? Salamat. Next.
Quick interjection, Madam Chair. Just a quick one.
Proceed.
May we ask the representative of COA, did I hear it right, that the Vice President's office has not yet sent a reply about the notice of disallowance?
Not yet, Madam Chair, because as we have replied, the remedy is either to settle the disallowance or to file their appeal.
So there was no there was no official communication yet from the office of the Vice President in reference to the observations of the Commission on Audit?
As to the notice of disallowance, there has been no communication yet.
I'm just
Madam
raising that point, Madam Chair, because if I remember it right, the Vice President replied all throughout the discussion that she has already communicated to the Commission on Audit.
Clarification, Madam Chair. The notice of disallowance signifies that it has already gone through a lot of steps before
Back
it
and
has
forth.
arrived at a notice of
Yes.
disallowance. So from the time that an AOM was
Issue.
issued, there have been communication with the Office
So
of
it
the
is
Vice
correct to
President.
assume, Madam Chair, that due process was afforded to the Office of the Vice President.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Salamat.
Madam Chair.
Okay, pwede po kayong magpalista for orderly proceedings. We have
Madam Chair, this is in relation
Ron Salo.
Madam Chair, this
Madam
is in
Chair,
relation to...
I'll just yield
We will-
to Congresswoman Roman.
Pasensya na po ha. Ililista ko na lang po kayo, Kong Roman. The chair now recognizes the Honorable Ron Salo.
Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair. But I'll willingly yield to Congresswoman Roman, Madam Chair, if it's all right with the Chair.
Okay, so the chair now recognizes the Honorable Geraldine Roman.
Madam Chair, just an observation during the interpellation of our esteemed colleague, Marcoleta. I would like, Madam Chair, to remind our colleague, Mr. Marcoleta, Representative Marcoleta, that such terminology as nagtatatalon para magtanong are improper. To insinuate that my colleagues and us, who validly and willingly want to pose valid questions regarding the budget of the Office of the Vice President is unacceptable. Hindi po kami nagtatatalon. We have valid questions. I wanted to ask valid questions, but of course nobody is here to answer them. Which brings me to my second point, that I was listening intently to the intervention of Representative Marcoleta about respect for tradition. And I agree that yes, there are traditions and courtesy is extended where courtesy is also given. And this no-show for me is not exactly what you would call a courteous gesture on the part of the Office of the Vice President. Nevertheless, Madam Chair, once more, I'd like to express my frustration that sinubukan ko lang po dumating today with certain valid questions, but wala pong tayong sasagot dito. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Salamat. And now, the Honorable Ron Salo.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just have one clarification because same with Congresswoman Roman, I also have some questions to ask. But nonetheless, I'll be content with listening to the explanation perhaps of the Commission on Audit. Ang simple lang po yung tanong ko kasi at the end of the day, yung Commission on Audit, Madam Chair, sila po yung nagde-determine kung isang pondo ay nagastos ng mas maayos. But I wish to go back to the basics. Ano exactly from the point of view ng COA ang mandato ng opisina ng Vice President? Kasi at the end of the day, dito po sa mandato, mami-measure exactly kung yung bang mga pondo at ginagastos are aligned exactly with the mandate. So gusto kong maintindihan mula sa punto de vista ng Commission on Audit, ano po sa tingin po nila exactly ang mandato po ng Office of the Vice President? Maraming salamat po.
Madam Chair, as I mentioned earlier po, the mandate of the OBP is, one of the mandate of the OBP is committed to the service of the nation, which perform executive, ceremonial, and advocacy functions to improve the lives of the Filipino people. That's why some of social services were implemented, or programs for social services are proposed.
Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair. Follow-up question. So sa tingin po ninyo, yung mga proposal po ngayon, align naman po doon sa mandato ng Office of the Vice President?
Based on the mandate of the Office of the Vice President, yes. Since the programs is consider social services, socio-economic services po, Madam Chair.
Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair.
Okay. So now we shall begin round 2. And the chair now recognizes the Honorable Jill Bongalon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, quick clarification with the Commission on Audit. Pwede ko po ba malaman kung nagsumiti po ng liquidation report ang ating pong Vice Presidente patungkol po doon sa confidential funds?
What period po, Madam Chair?
2023.
2023.
I'm sorry, 2022.
Yes po, Madam Chair.
May I know when did the Office of the Vice President submit the liquidation report?
Madam Chair, the ICFA received the liquidation report on January 17, 2023.
May I know from the Commission on Audit if the submission was filed on time?
There is a slight issue on the provisions of the joint circular, because while the joint circular says that all liquidations must be all cash advances must be liquidated at year end, there's also a provision that allows the submission of the liquidation within 30 days from the end of the quarter, Madam Chair.
What is the answer to my question? Was it submitted on time?
So as far as we have determined before, they have submitted it on time since it was within the 30-day.
All right. So after the submission that you have mentioned, made sometime in January of 2023, is that the last submission of the liquidation report that the Office of the Vice President submit? Or are there any other submissions made by the Office of the Vice President?
Madam Chair, they submitted an additional document.
When did the Office of the Vice President submit the additional document, just for the record, Madam Chair? Is that in the nature of liquidation report also?
It was an accomplishment report, Madam Chair.
So what is the nature of that report?
It is an accomplishment report. It is part of the liquidation report, but not an entirely.
That is part of the liquidation report that was submitted sometime in January. May I know, just for the record, when did the Office of the Vice President submit the accomplishment report?
The initial submission was on January 17, and the submission on September 18 was an amendment to the accomplishment report.
So in other words, binigyan po ng pagkakataon ang opisina po ng ating Vice Presidente na magpaliwanag dito po sa kanyang liquidation report.
Since we have not yet issued an AOM at that point, actually it would have been one of the findings, but then they were able to submit the accomplishment report po,
So
Madam Chair.
sa madaling salita, Madam Chair, nagkaroon ng maraming pagkakataon ang opisina po ng Vice Presidente na magpaliwanag dito po sa kanyang liquidation report.
Yes, Madam Chair.
So would that be amount to observance of due process on the part of the Commission on Audit?
I would think so, Madam Chair, since they have received our initial audit actions, which have led to the issuance of the notice of disallowance, Madam Chair.
Would that be all?
Yeah, that would be all, Madam Chair.
Okay. The Honorable Ziadjo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to understand po, because I was following the exchanges and the questions of Congressman Jill Bungalon. So prior to issuing the notice of disallowance, there was a process and steps that you require for the OVP the Office of the OVP to respond
Yes, Madam Chair.
yes to this observation. No, I just want to walk me through. No, how many processes does actually entail before COA finally decides to issue a notice of disallowance?
From the moment the agency submits their liquidation report, we do our audit on the liquidation based on the joint circular issued by the COA, DBM, DILG, and GCG and DND. And then if the liquidation is in order, we could just issue a credit notice. But if not, if there are deficiencies, we issue an audit observation memorandum advising them the AOM would then have to be replied to by the agency head within 15 days, and then if they comply with the AOM, again, if the AOM is sufficient, the liquidation is passed in audit. However, if we can still find deficiencies in the compliance, we usually issue the notice of suspension. Again,
And after the notice of suspension, there's another series of requests that you want for a specific agency to submit to you.
yes, Madam
Right. So
Chair.
what's now the process after
So-
that notice of
Notice of suspension,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
So first, there's the ano yan? Yung term mo, AOM, yung
Audit observation memorandum, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
so there's a series of requests, documents for them to comply, and after scrutinizing maybe, they examine the documents, whether these documents comply with the circular, joint circular, then if there are deficiencies, then you proceed with the issuance of suspension. And then the issue of suspension, notice of suspension, issue of suspension.
Notice of suspension, Madam Chair.
Then again, it would have a series of processes na naman. You request the agency to submit certain So that's the second stage, right?
Yes, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
so can you please expound on that? So what are in details perhaps? Sorry, Madam Chair, I just want to really understand the process of COA. So, okay.
Madam Chair, from the moment they give us the reply to the notice of suspension, we evaluate the compliance. And then again, if it passes if it is sufficient, it will be passed in audit. Otherwise, the notice of disallowance will be issued.
So that's the last
That is
stage.
the last,
Okay, so
Madam Chair.
makatwid, Madam Chair, it's very clear na in terms of scrutinizing, in terms of the steps needed para yung ahensya po ay makapagsumite ng mga dokumento na nagsasabing nandoon sa within the criteria, within the parameters allowed by COA na nagasta yung gastusin, ay saka sila magbibigay ng mga notice of suspension. Ibig sabihin sa makatwid, pag ikaw ay na-issuean ng notice of disallowance, ibig sabihin, doon sa proseso na yon, wala yung nasubmit mo na dokumento ay hindi sapat para sabihin na compliant yung lahat ng pinaggagastasan mo ng pera na yon na naibigay sa'yo ng gobyerno, galing sa Kaban-Labayan. So, yun lang po ang gusto kong maintindihan. Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair. And thank you, COA, for the responses.
Thank you.
All right, salamat. All right, and so there are no more
Madam Chair?
members. Yes,
Very
Yes.
quick manifestation only
please proceed.
to the interpellation of the Honorable Marcoleta. It is my understanding that he's questioning the position of COA for disclosing the notice of disallowance, considering that the OVP has not yet filed its answer. I just wish to manifest, Madam Chair, that the filing of an answer or appeal, as the more appropriate term, is not mandatory. Instead, it is the discretion of the OVP. As a matter of fact, if the OVP fails to file an appeal, it renders the disallowance final and executory. Otherwise, if they file an appeal, there's a possibility for reversal. And be that as it may, Madam Chair, this representation does not see any issue why the COA should not disclose the notice of disallowance. Let us all be reminded by the constitutionally guaranteed right of the citizens to public information on matters concerning public interest. And even assuming that after the filing of an appeal, the notice of disallowance was reversed, the COA has all the liberty to disclose to the public that they were wrong in issuing the ND, and that later on the OVP was able to justify the basis for the issuance of the ND. So to conclude, Madam Chair, the filing of an answer or an appeal, as a more appropriate term, is not mandatory. Instead, it is discretionary. If the OVP files an appeal, then she has a chance to reverse the decision in the ND. Otherwise, if they opt not to file an appeal, then the ND becomes final and executory. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And to add, there is no specific provision in the joint circular prohibiting the disclosure of an ND. And number two, by definition, kung na-disallow na ang isang expense, ibig sabihin nun ay hindi siya confidential. Kaya pwede nating pag-usapan. And besides, ito po ay in aid of legislation. And so with that,
Madam Chair.
Yes, the Honorable Bong Teves.
Madam Chair, just a short manifestation. I just want to express my support to the statement of our Chairman El Saldico. And also, according to the letter of the OBP, Office of the Vice President, they differ to the discretion of and judgment of the committee. Nasa atin na po ang bola. Therefore, given the circumstances, I encourage my fellow colleagues to do the right things. Nakita natin ang unexplained notice ng COA sa Office of Vice President. At kanina, yung overpriced rental ng offices ng Office of Vice President. Let us consider this in passing the budget of the OVP at the proper time. At isa pa, gusto ko pong ipaliwanag yung sinabi ni Congressman Marcoleta. Ang lahat po na sinasabi niya kanina ay tinanong na natin nung first hearing, pero hindi naman po sinasagot ng tama ni mismo ni Vice President Sara. Ngayon, wala pa siya. Paano niya masasagot kung wala siya? Kaya bilang pagbabastos din sa atin, siguro napakapangit tingnan, siguro tayo na po ang magusga para sa budget ng Office of the Vice President. Thank you very much.
Salamat. So, there being no other member who wishes to interpolate, I'd like to recognize the Honorable Jill Bongalon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, as a final statement, I wish to express my frustrations because I went here with questions. I am totally prepared because I was not able to ask questions during the last budget hearing. But the questions remained unanswered, Madam Chair. What is more frustrating, Madam Chair, is that we have a Vice President na nagpa-interview pa po kahapon at ngayon po no-show siya sa budget hearing ng kanyang pong proposed budget for the fiscal year 2025. Ang kine-question ko po dito, Madam Chair, is yung importansya ng pag-a-attend at pag-scrutinize ng budget. I hope in the next year and in the next generation ay hindi na po ito pamarisan at hindi po mangyari sa mga susunod na taon. Another thing, Madam Chair, with the responses from the Commission on Audit, what is apparent is that common in internal bureaucracy that the efforts to streamline the operations were measured but still insufficient. Sa madaling salita po, Madam Chair, nagtayo po ng sariling burokrasya ang ating opisina ng Vice Presidente. Pero tinimbang, ngunit kulang ng Commission on Audit. Having said that, Madam Chair, I move that we defer the deliberation. I move that we defer the termination of the deliberation of the proposed budget of the Office of the Vice President, subject to conditions either, number 1, reduce the proposed budget of the Office of the Vice President, and number 2, place the certain funds on hold until further discussions are held. I so move, Madam Chair.
There's a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Right, so duly seconded. Hearing no objection, the motion is carried. Right. So maraming salamat sa ating mga resource persons.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn the budget hearing. I so move.
Right. Duly seconded. The motion is carried. Right, maraming salamat.